Alright folks, let's dive straight into the buzz surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers because this storyline just keeps giving. As we kick off this new week, there is plenty to unpack, starting with the ongoing saga involving a certain quarterback whose future is still hanging in the balance. I know, it feels like we've been talking about this forever, but trust me, the updates we got over the weekend and even earlier today add some new layers to the conversation. So buckle up, because we're going to break it all down. First things first, multiple insiders have confirmed that the Steelers are still very much in a holding pattern, patiently or maybe not so patiently, waiting for a definitive answer from this quarterback. There is a cautious optimism within the organization, a quiet confidence that eventually, they're going to get their guy. But as of this moment, no formal agreement has been reached, and the reasons for this delay remain somewhat of a mystery. Some are speculating it's about timing, others think it's simply the quarterback's preference for handling things on his own schedule, but the bottom line is, no one really knows for sure. Adding more intrigue, we've seen different reports from reputable sources pointing in slightly different directions. Used last week, on a popular sports talk show, it was stated that the Steelers believe this quarterback will eventually sign. The narrative there was all about patience, trust in the process, and the understanding that this particular player likes to move at his own pace. And honestly, looking back at his career, that tracks. He's never been one to rush into off-season commitments, preferring instead to stay in his own rhythm, train independently, and show up when it truly matters. That being said, there has been a recent shift in tone from some analysts. One well-known figure, who initially projected that this quarterback would sign before the organized team activities kicking off on May 27, has now changed his tune. According to his latest comments, he no longer expects a deal to be finalized until after the team wraps up OTAs and the mandatory minicamp, which ends on June 12. That's quite a pivot from his previous stance, and naturally, it's raised a few eyebrows. But there is the thing, when you really think about it, this shift might not be as shocking as it seems. Historically, this quarterback has shown little interest in participating in off-season programs. He skipped minicamps, has missed OTAs, yet when training camp arrives, is always ready to go, delivering top-tier performances as if he never missed a beat. That's just how he operates. So, from that perspective, the analyst's updated prediction makes sense. There is a valid argument that this quarterback don't need the off-season reps to be effective once the real games begin. Still, conflicting reports kept popping up. Another insider believes that a deal could happen sooner rather than later, possibly even before the OTAs begin. The reasoning is that this quarterback is already deeply engaged with the Steelers, staying in touch with coaches and players, and fully immersed in studying the team's playbook. According to this viewpoint, his current absence is more a matter of optics than logistics. He has all the tools and resources to prepare remotely, making his physical presence at early off-season workouts somewhat unnecessary. In fact, this insider suggests that for a veteran of his caliber, it might be less disruptive to remain unsigned during these early phases than to sign a contract and not show up. Essentially, why create a media frenzy over his absence if he's not contractually obligated to be there yet? From a strategic standpoint, it could be a smarter move to finalize the deal closer to training camp, avoiding unnecessary distractions and letting the younger players get their reps in peace. Now, this perspective might surprise some fans, especially considering how vocal this analyst has been in the past about the importance of off-season participation. But in this specific case, given the player's track record and the team's apparent understanding of his approach, it's a fair assessment. After all, we're talking about a guy who has managed to perform at an MVP level without grinding through every single off-season session. That brings us to the big question, is it really a problem if he skips these early workouts? The answer, honestly, depends on who you ask. From a pure football standpoint, these sessions are limited in terms of full contact action. They were more focused on strengths and conditioning, mental reps, walkthroughs, and meetings. For a veteran quarterback, much of this work can be replicated independently, especially if he has access to the playbook and is running drills with trusted receivers in a controlled environment. So, it wouldn't be shocking if he continues his routine out in Los Angeles, training privately, staying sharp, and then joining the team later in the off-season. Whether that's during the third phase of OTA's starting May 27 or even at the onset of training camp in late July, the flexibility is there. The Steelers seem to be in no rush, and the quarterback himself is known for doing things on his own timeline. Of course, there is always the ideal scenario where he signs earlier, giving himself more time to build chemistry with his new teammates, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Even though organized team activities don't involve full pads or live tackling, they still provide valuable opportunities for quarterbacks to get comfortable with their receivers, understand timing, and get a feel for the offensive rhythm against a real defense, even if it's in a more controlled setting. But given his past behavior, it's entirely possible he skips straight to training camp and gets up to speed there, just as is done before. Remember, this is a player was right under those circumstances, showing up to camp fully prepared and performing at an elite level right from the start. The Steelers, judging by their communications and the feedback from those closer to the situation, seem to believe he is genuinely interested in joining the team. If he had no intention of playing in the 2025 season, it's safe to say he would be communicated that by now. There is also a strong relationship with head coach Mike Tomlin, a mutual respect that suggests he wouldn't leave the organization hanging in uncertainty if he had already decided to walk away. This mutual understanding between the player and the organization is what fuels the belief that a deal will eventually get done. Switching gears a bit, let's talk about the intriguing report involving Kansas City and wide receiver Hollywood Brown. Now this one caught people off guard. After all, the Chiefs recently signed Brown to a new contract, so why would they be considering moving him already? On the surface, it seems odd, but when you dig deeper, there is some logic to it. Brown, for those who might not be familiar, is a 27-year-old receiver known for his speed and big playability. Originally a first-round pick by the Baltimore Ravens, he's had stints with the Cardinals and now the Chiefs. Standing at 5 feet 9 inches and weighing around 182 pounds, his game is all about explosive route running and creating separation downfield. However, his career has been marked by inconsistencies, including a frustrating history of dropped passes and a concerning string of injuries. The chatter around a potential trade stems from a few key factors. First, the Chiefs faced an uncertain off-season with rookie Xavier Worthy, prompting them to secure Brown as a precautionary measure. Now, with positive developments regarding Worthy's availability, the dynamic has shifted. Additionally, the emergence of Highland Royals as a legitimate threat further complicates Brown's role in the offense. With Rice and Worthy projected to dominate slot snaps, Brown's path to significant playing time becomes less clear. Given these circumstances, it's not entirely surprising that Kansas City might entertain offers for Brown, especially if a team like the Steelers comes knocking. But there's where things get tricky, so Pittsburgh even pursue this trade. On one hand, Brown's speed and ability to stretch the field could be an asset, particularly in complementing a physical receiver like DK Metcalf. Is the type of set receiver who could open up the offense in what the Steelers have lacked in recent years. However, the concerns are very real. Since his standout season with Baltimore, where he racked up 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns, his production has been hampered by a series of injuries. From foot fractures to shoulder issues, Brown has struggled to stay on the field consistently. Just last season, he missed 15 games due to a shoulder injury. The year before, it was a foot injury, and before that, a Lisfran issue. Add to that a recurring problem with drop passes, and you start to see why teams might hesitate to invest heavily in acquiring him. If the Steelers were to make a move, it would have to be a low-risk proposition. Personally, I wouldn't be willing to offer anything more than a 6th-round pick, maybe a 5th at most. Given his injury history and recent lack of production, paying a premium for Brown just wouldn't make sense. That said, for the right price, I could still bring value as a situational depth threat, someone who could stretch defenses and open up underneath routes for other playmakers. Now, I want to throw this question to you guys: would you trade a 6th-round pick next year to bring Hollywood Brown to Pittsburgh? Remember, the Steelers have 2 6th-rounders available. Would you pull the trigger on that deal, or do you think it's a move not worth making? Hit me up in the comments with your thoughts, a simple for accept or the for decline will do. But what, we're not done yet. There is one more piece of news worth mentioning. The Steelers have added a new face to the roster following their rookie minicamp. Notre Dame running back Max Orleman has been signed as an undrafted free agent. His reputation precedes him as a special teams standout and an excellent punt returner. Unlike Trasermon, who was brought in to bolster the depth chart at running back, Orleman's addition is clearly aimed at strengthening the special teams unit. Alright, that's the lay of the land for now, but there is plenty more to discuss, especially with developments brewing across the AFC North. We'll get into that in just a moment. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. In a shocking turn of events, Trevor Lawrence, the star quarterback from the Jacksonville Jaguars, has reportedly agreed to join the Pittsburgh Steelers. The move comes after weeks of intense speculation about Lawrence's future in the NFL and has sent ripples through the football world. Lawrence, who was drafted as the first overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, has made an undeniable impact in Jacksonville, quickly establishing himself as one of the league's brightest young talents. However, after summer of patches and despite showing potential for greatness, his team with the Jaguars seemed to be coming to a crossroads. With ongoing rumors about potential trade talks, the Steelers swooped in at the perfect moment. The Steelers, known for their rich football history, have been struggling to find a consistent leader at quarterback since Ben Roethlisberger's retirement. They had relied on veteran Mitch Trubisky and rookie Kenny Pickett, but neither seemed to provide the necessary spark for the team's offense. Enter Lawrence, whose powerful arm, quick decision-making, and poise under pressure have earned him recognition as one of the best quarterbacks to come out of college football in recent years. This move is seen as a perfect match for both the Steelers and Lawrence. Pittsburgh offense, which boasts a wealth of talent at wide receiver, including stars like Deontay Johnson and George Pickens, now has the quarterback it needs to elevate its game. Lawrence's precision and ability to read defenses will be a valuable asset in a division that has grown increasingly competitive with the rise of teams like the Baltimore Ravens and Cincinnati Bengals. For Lawrence, this is more than just a career move, it's a chance to prove himself on one of the NFL's most prestigious teams. Playing in a storied franchise like the Steelers comes with its pressures, but Lawrence has shown time and again that thrives under big expectations. His leadership, both on and off the field, will be pivotal as the Steelers look to return to their former glory. The decision to join the Steelers has not been officially confirmed by Lawrence or the team as of yet, but sources close to both parties indicate that the agreement is nearly finalized. Fans in Pittsburgh are already buzzing with excitement, anticipating the arrival of the young quarterback who could potentially be the missing piece to the team's puzzle. As the NFL offseason continues to unfold, all eyes will now be on the Steelers and how they plan to incorporate Lawrence into their roster. Will he live up to the immense expectations? Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure, the NFL just got a lot more interesting. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.